Good morning, everybody. Welcome to North Country Off-Grid with Chad and Shelby. It is a cold morning today, but it is sunny and beautiful.
It is beautiful, but it is bitter.
It's cold.
So we wanted to do a video. We get asked this question all the time. Why did you go off-grid? What made you make such a big lifestyle change? So we wanted to kind of share with you guys our story and let you in on why we decided that going off-grid worked for us.
And we really hope that from our story, we hope that we can motivate people who want to go off-grid. We know that there are a ton of people out there who want to live like we're living or try to live like we're living.
And a ton that don't, but that's okay too.
We're not talking to them. This video is not for you. Push the subscribe button, push the thumbs up, share it, and then don't watch it if you don't want to. Or watch it, because that helps us too. But this video is not for you. This video is for the people who want to go off-grid or who enjoy watching our videos. So hopefully this helps out those people. We know there's tons of them. Yes. There's tons of people out there. That's who we're talking to today.
So for me personally, I have talked to some people that I went to high school with, and they were like, oh, I just didn't see you living that kind of life. And honestly, I didn't either. But my biggest priority always has been to have a family and to raise my kiddos the best way that I knew how. So for us, we were living in town, and Chad was always trying to figure out how to get our bills paid, so working, and sometimes that meant him even going far away to a different state to work. Like
North Dakota.
And that was hard on him for sure, but it was also hard on us because we love our daddy, and we didn't want him to be gone. So that was really hard.
North Dakota was fun and exciting, and it was hard. It was hard work, but it was good money. We made great money. But we came to find out fairly quick that it wasn't the money that we loved. Being away from the family months at a time was not something we wanted to do. And to trade that for money just wasn't worth it for us.
And oftentimes it really was only covering our bills. It's not like we were able to go on all these great vacations and live this great, extravagant lifestyle. It was often just covering the bills. So we just felt like we were hustling all the time, always trying to get somewhere but standing still. And
also, I almost died over there when Shelby found out that I almost died over there. We were like, nah, we don't want to do that.
Not our story. Let's write it a different way. So we did. We decided, you know what? You have done construction. You know how to build a house. You know how to build an awesome house. Let's just go do it. Let's just take a plunge into it and change our life. Also, we were watching a lot of TV. At the end of the day, we were stressed out from working, stressed out from driving all over the place, that at the end of the day, we were just coming home and oftentimes all going to separate rooms and sitting down and watching TV. So
I think at the end of the night, basically, it became that we weren't having a fulfilling life, you know. As you start to accumulate years on your life, you look back and you realize, okay, where am I headed? Where have I come from? And if you see yourself standing still and you don't see an end in sight, there needs to be a change made.
Definitely.
Going back to where Chad started out. When I was little, I wanted to be a couple of things, 3 that I can think of. 1, firefighter. Okay, I can start a fire and I can put them out. Check. 2, bodybuilder, obviously. And 3 was a mountain man. I wanted to be a mountain man. I wanted to go live in the woods. I wanted to run around in buckskins. I wanted to shoot and eat everything. So check.
I didn't know any of that.
We don't talk about everything.
We always would get out in the woods whenever we could. We lived in a neighborhood where all the houses were on top of each other, and we didn't have the extra money to go do fun things. So whenever we could, we'd just get out into the woods, and that's where we were the most happiest. That's where we felt like we were being most ourselves. So we were like, all right, it's time for a big lifestyle change. And Chad had talked to me about doing this a bunch of different times, and I think I was reluctant to do it, but finally I was like, all right, you're right, we need to just do it, because saving and planning and thinking about it, like, let's be done doing that phase and let's just jump into it and start doing it.
And also getting back to, you know, some of the motivating factors for me, Shelby and I have always wanted to have somebody at home with our kids. So Shelby has always been a stay-at-home mom up until the point that we went off grid. But Shelby has always been a stay-at-home mom to take care of our kids. And then I have always worked to pay our bills. So instead of two incomes coming in, we've sort of just got by with one. But it's what we wanted because we didn't want to put our kids in daycare.
We knew that we'd never get that time back.
Yeah. And I mean, how many horrible headlines do you see about kids at daycare being mistreated? We weren't going to do it. We always watch our kids, and we knew going into having kids that that's the way we wanted it to be, and that we would run into hard times. And we have, and we did. I mean, we'll talk about a lot of that because I'm sure a lot of you guys have too. Some of you probably haven't. Good for you. So, let's see. Obviously, part of paying the bills is going to work every single day. I've always worked in, for the most part, like physical labor type jobs, construction, that sort of thing. And I've worked in a few different fields for multiple reasons. A lot of the reasons are, and I'm sure many of you can relate, is that you probably have a boss or a supervisor and or coworkers that you cannot stand. And they don't add to your life. They actually add stress to your life. If you're like us, you know, Shelby and I would get together at the end of the night and talk about our day. And generally my day was not a positive review because when you work in construction, a lot of times you don't work with the most upstanding citizens that you can. And even in just physical trades, you work with people that I can't stand. It's probably me. I probably just don't work well with a lot of people. I like to just put my head down and work, and if I see someone standing, I generally just dislike them at heart.
I think the biggest thing is that Chad is a very big self-motivator. He is a hard worker and a go-getter. So he needed to be applying that towards our family in a way where he's not being restricted by others.
And I think we came to the point, too, where we really realized, you know, if I'm working, we've always had a bit of a commute. I've had jobs where I've had to drive over an hour just to get to the job, you know, and had to work that job for 6-7 months until we changed locations. If you do the math on that, you know, I was getting paid for 40 hours a week, but I was working 50 to 60 hours a week. And you just think like, man, that's so much wasted time that I could have had with my family, that I could have spent with my kids. It's just so much wasted time. And then we just started bouncing back this idea of, you know, if we just decreased our bills or nullified our bills and put all those hours into, you know, our farm, creating a farm. That's what we wanted to do. We wanted to go live off grid and have a farm and do what we could do on the farm to provide financially for our family. That was the goal. So we just thought about all of that work that could be put in place for us. So that was a huge motivating factor for us. And we're talking, what, 10 years? 8 years?
That we lived in town?
Yeah.
I think it was like 8.
So it's basically 8 years. Shelby and I are fairly young, and we had kids right out of high school. So right out of high school, we're talking 9 years of being in the workforce. And I decided that I don't like it. I don't want someone else to tell me what my time is worth. I don't want someone else to tell me that my time is worth very little. So I decided I'm not going to work for you anymore. I'm going to go work for her. So these are the things that added up to us wanting to make this move, as well as this sense of calling. I feel like I feel as though what we were doing did not feel right. And there was sort of this call, this pull to go out into the woods and create this new life, a much more honest, realistic life for us.
I think we were definitely going against the grain. We live in a society where it's often keeping up with the Joneses, and you're measured by your things. And we were willing to ditch all of that and say, no, I don't care that that's what everybody else is doing. That's not what's going to make us happy. So we went out there with next to nothing, just because bringing all of our stuff to a house that isn't even made doesn't make much sense. So
we thinned out a lot of our stuff, except for like a lot of tools, things that we knew that we would use to carve out this new life. So that's kind of a step. If you're thinking about it, that's kind of a step you might want to think about, is really thinning through all your gear that you don't need, all the stuff that I mean, you really got to think about what you want versus what you need. You can get rid of a lot of stuff and then go back through and do it again. You could
also start accumulating like the tools and the things that you need. So that's a good place to start.
North Country Off-Grid farm tip, go to yard sales and all that stuff, that junk that people don't want, those are the tools you're going to use every day. Go get that stuff. And if you buy 2 shovels, 3 shovels, it's fine. You're going to break them. Buy multiples and get a bunch, because there's nothing worse than breaking a tool and having to go to town, you know, an hour out of the way to go get tools. So go to yard sales and get people's cheap throwaway tools that they don't even use anymore.
So we sold pretty much everything, and we bought a travel trailer, and we found our property and we made the move. We just decided, let's figure this whole fun journey out. And I had no idea what I was signing up for, to be honest. I thought that I'd have like a house and electricity, and I needed this big gigantic house eventually, so we picked where we would put a smaller house temporarily, and then we would build the bigger house later. This was what I would call my city brain thinking, where I needed this big gigantic house. And it took me some time to even realize that isn't even what I need. Do I need this big gigantic house, or would I rather go on a couple more vacations with my kiddos and really enjoy life rather than a big gigantic house?
I think too that we came to realize once we got out there and you're working to put all this stuff together, especially in the beginning. I imagine that as we get later down the road, a lot of it is going to be maintenance and upkeep. But when you're in the building process, you work constantly. But it's fun work, it's rewarding work, you're working with your family, but it is hard work. But it beats going 40 hours a week to a job if you can substitute the two. But it's a ton of work. But you're outside all day long working, and then, you know, you lift your head up and it's like, oh, the sun's going down, the day's about done, and you go inside and you learn to realize that you don't need a big space in a house where you come in to just go to sleep. At least for us, because we love being outside. We have tons of stuff to build, tons of stuff to work on. So there's no sense in us having a 2,000 square foot place, because we generally just go to sleep in our little place.
Very true.
So getting ready to go off-grid, Shelby and I are kind of jumping past it. Really, for us, we came up with the notion, like, let's go live off-grid, let's go for a change. And I honestly think that we implemented it about 4 months later. It's something that I'd always wanted to do. I'd always wanted to go live in the woods in a cabin. I always wanted to do it. And I think when I started to really talk to Shelby about it, and, you know, and saying, hey, it's going to be better. It's going to be better for our family. It's going to be a better lifestyle. At the end of our life, we're going to look back and say we did some cool stuff, not, hey, we paid off a house in 30 years, 15 years, whatever your payment plan is.
We also wanted to leave something for our babies. We didn't necessarily want it to just be a house in the city that they could cash in when we died. We wanted to leave a legacy. We wanted to leave something that our grandchildren could hear the story about how we built it, how we did it from the ground up with our own 2 hands. And we've got lots of other big dreams that we're excited to get started on and hand down to them. So we've got a lot ahead of us, but that's kind of was our starting motivation, was leaving something bigger than just the standard normal what is right now.
Yeah, and that comes from mine and Shelby's backstories too. We don't come from trust funds. We don't have, we were given nothing. Shelby and I have had to earn everything that we have done through hard work. and it's a slower way of going, but basically through us having to work from nothing a few times, from us having to work from nothing, we have decided that one of our goals by the end of this is to leave something for our kids. That something to us is a working farm, to where they have to work hard to do it, but they also have to take care of it. But there is something there for them to walk into. So essentially we're giving them a job and a lifestyle and the ability to earn a paycheck for the family.
Also, I am adopted, and so I think that
I've seen the papers.
I think that has a lot to do with just everything of who I am. I have a huge value on family, and these kids are something that I've looked forward to being a part of my life my entire life. So to have them, I want it to be really meaningful. I want them to learn a lot of things. So with this lifestyle, we've been able to teach them so many valuable things that would have been a lot harder to teach them for us in the city. So
I think, unfortunately, too, at this time in our age, you know, Shelby and I grew up at a time where you had to run inside to answer the phone. Mm-hmm. You know, you had a landline, that was it. There were no tablets, there were no cell phones yet, except that like cool Motorola brick one. You know, you saw in the movies. But we grew up in that time where you just went outside as a kid and you played and you used your imagination. And now we see this time that they're growing up in where it's electronics and tablets and TV shows like crazy. We don't want that for our kids. We don't want our kids to grow up in an area where they're just constantly putting electronics in their face.
I think that kids nowadays almost don't know how to be bored.
It seems like kids nowadays have so much entertainment that they don't know how to use their imagination, or they don't need to use their imagination. And it's one of those things like if you don't use it, you lose it. So if you're not using your imagination and learning how to do that, you're not developing a lot of things that you could be.
Yeah. So for us, I think we just had old souls. We had important values that were our cores, and we just decided that with all of those things combined and the life that we personally were living in the city, we wanted to just make a big change for our family. So that really included just getting down to the core of us, and that happened to be outside and outdoors and in the mountains. So
also too, I gotta say, we don't keep our kids from stuff necessarily. They are allowed to watch TV. It's not like if we walk into a room and the TV is on or visiting someone, they're not allowed to watch it. We just don't provide it for them because we don't encourage them sitting in front of it. Same goes with electronics. You know, if they go to someone's house and they play a video game, we're okay with them doing that because it's very limited time. We just don't want them doing it all day.
Yeah.
Like right now, they're outside playing out in the sun, and they're having a good time being kids. They're playing.
And we will do projects because we homeschool, and that will include going to the library and figuring out how to do their research through books, but also the computer. So in no way are we against electronics. We're just all about moderation. And more importantly, the parental supervision, because it's kind of scary what kids can stumble upon when they have free access. So we just choose to raise our kids in a completely different world than a lot of other families.
Without too much exclusion, too. Yeah. You know, we got to find a balance there, a nice, healthy balance where we're not going to hinder them. You know, obviously they're going to be walking into a technological world, and we don't want them hindered. However, we don't want them corrupted too early. You know, it's going to happen when they're older. They're going to figure out all the dirties of life, but we just don't want to expose it to them now. There's no sense in it. They don't need it. They should enjoy their childhood.
And I think we're both a little nervous, to be honest, even talking about it, because in no way are we trying to criticize what other people are doing, because however you choose to raise your children, that's completely fine and great. And parenting is hard enough without other people criticizing you. This was just all for us personally and for our family and how we wanted it for our children. So
yeah, Shelby and I are very big on celebrating other people's wins. We don't hate on people for the choices they make, the things that they do. We really try to appreciate people for who they are. This is what's right for us. We're not telling you guys because we want you guys to, you know, do what we're doing. we're just kind of letting you know what we expect from our kids, the change that we made to sort of get the outcome that we want from our children. So this is in no way passing any judgment whatsoever on anybody else. You've got to do and live the life that you want to live. We only get one of them, I think. Don't know yet.
That's what they say.
Reincarnation could be a thing. We might come back as a bug. I don't know. But we want our kids to enjoy their lives. Looking at the world around us right now, there's just a lot of negative stuff that's constantly going on, and I think that we can improve. And I think that improvement starts in the home. Starts
at home. I agree. I mean, I can even say, I can raise my hand and say that my child was one of the children that was disrupting a classroom with his behavior. And we decided that was a big reason why we started to homeschool, because he was so behind on what he was being taught that he was acting up in the classroom. So I just think that if you can take accountability for what your kids are struggling with and how they're struggling and turn it into a positive and make it work for your child, I think that that's great. Children are hard, and it's hard to know exactly the right things to do, and all you can do is your best. So that's what we definitely have tried to do, and we're pretty darn proud of how they're turning out. And
another thing that Shelby and I kind of live by too, we always say it jokingly because 18 years is a long time, but we always kind of say, you know, hey, we have 18 years to not mess these kids up, so we're going to put forth the most effort that we can to make them good people. So that's always our goal. And to also address what Shelby was saying with homeschooling, Idaho is ranked very low in education. I believe they're 48th in education. That's nothing to brag about. So that's a problem, and if we don't do anything to change that problem, it's going to continue. So Shelby and I decided we need to make a change. So the things that we've done is homeschooling. We need to make that change. We can allow our kids to come up through a public education system that is the lowest ranked or one of the lowest ranked in the country, or we can do better. Same thing I think with parenting our kids and moving them off grid. I feel that we could provide them a better life. So we made those changes. We can do better. So also, when Shelby and I first moved off grid, we didn't know anybody. We don't know a single person who moved off grid. We don't know anyone at all. We didn't have a buddy, a friend,
somebody that knew along the line, like nothing.
There was nobody. So it was just
uncle.
We didn't have one of those.
Nope, no uncle.
We had nothing. We had nobody. There was no support system. There was no buddies saying, hey, you can do it. Hey, this is what you need to do. So, you know, we had to pioneer that way for us. And we did it, and we're still alive. So that means you can do it. And if you guys need any tips or if you guys need support,
we're here.
Subscribe to our channel, because we're here to support you, and we're here to tell you you can do it, because
I think
it's a rewarding life.
It is.
And it's an honest life, and I would never go back. You couldn't pay me to go back. We don't do this. We don't do this life due to lack of finances. We'll talk about that on another video. Shelby and I have a pretty cool thing to show you guys about how we took a step back to come up. But
I think if anything, when you go into this, you may have a lack of support, because for us
you will have a lack of support.
We had a lot of people just be like, what are you doing? And I get it. It's totally different. But we even recently found out that somebody that we thought was super supportive of what we were doing was portraying it as we were just going to go live out in the woods in tents. And that was disappointing to hear. But, you know, sometimes people can't comprehend your vision. You know, when you say, I want to go and live this lifestyle and do this sort of thing, in their head, they're instantly like, you know, they've formed an opinion and they've formed an idea. And if that somebody is important to you and you worry about their opinion, you could be setting yourself up for failure. So one thing that you want to do is not let anybody else's opinion or anybody else's attitude about the choice you want to make dictate your success. So if you're going into it, know that you're going to get a lot of sideways looks. A lot of people are going to, you know, maybe talk behind your back. But those people aren't your friends, so don't worry about it. You guys will do great. You guys know why you want to do it. You know if it's best for your family. And we just want you to know that we highly encourage you and we're supportive and we're excited to hear your guys' stories, and we hope that we can help with any encouragement that we can give.
What do you think? Is that good?
Yeah, I think that's good.
All right, guys, so that's kind of some feedback on when Shelby and I decided to go off-grid, some of the stuff that we were bouncing around in our heads. If you guys have any questions, if you need to just talk to someone about it.
I think that we're both very open books. We definitely have made our share of mistakes, but we have made a lot of successes as well. And we just love this lifestyle. And even if you just want a small change, we're just happy about that and happy to encourage it. So anything we can do to help y'all out, we're happy to do it.
And one thing different that Shelby and I did is we jumped into it head first. Everything all in 100%. You can ease into this. Get chickens and figure out how to start taking care of chickens if it's your goal 5 years from now. Get a goat if wherever you live allows you to have a goat.
Start your gardening skills.
Figure out how to garden, yeah.
Yeah. There's lots of things that you can slowly do to make the jump easier. Or you can just jump into it like we did. But no matter how you guys do it, best of luck to you. We really appreciate that you guys follow along with our story, and we hope that we can help even if it's just in a little way. So
thank you for watching our channel. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. If you know someone who might like this video, please share it to them. We appreciate your guys' subscriptions, though. You push that button. We're aiming for 1,000 subscribers, so help us out. If you guys see this video and you like it, subscribe.
And hit the like button and the little bell so you'll get our notifications and comments. All those things really help grow our channel, so we appreciate it. Thanks, you guys.
Good luck going off grid.
Woohoo!